Hi folks, and welcome to another Android tutorial from Radiant Silver Labs. This time I will be developing a login screen, which I've already done, but this is another one, and I'm going to try and get through this one quick enough to do the markup, the GUI first, but then also do the code for linking up these things and making the call to the server to actually do the logging in, because every other time I've tried to do that I've run out of time. But I'll make these into two videos, I think. So this first one will be making this GUI, and then the second one will be hooking up the GUI. So let's get started anyway. First thing you want to do is make a new activity. So new activity, blank activity. There is actually a logging activity there, but I don't know, I'm presuming that it uses something weird or something. We want to do it from scratch properly anyway to learn. Alright, so you type in the name there and you hit finish. And it's been added to, oh no, it's actually had an XML generated, I mean. So Android Studio has made the template file for us, which is now appearing in this window here once the hard drive stops churning away. And there is our XML there, which you can see if I change hello world to, well, it's referenced to string there, but at the end of the process I usually go down to values here and put them all in here. As you can see, it's like hello world, so you can put that in German or French or anything, and you can have different you can have strings and then a number and then a dash and then EN or F or R for French, but I never really bother with that while I'm working because it just annoys me. So let's just replace that at the moment with normal text, and you should see that change on the right. There it is, to prove that that is the XML that we have. Let's have a look at the activity it's made for us. Well, it's quite interesting actually. Put a few things in. But for now that's all just boilerplate stuff. In fact, that's just menu stuff, and I don't actually want menu stuff. I don't even want a real action bar. So I'm going to comment that out like this, because personally the action bar annoys me. I just make my own version. So here we have a blank activity. All it does is call the superclass, which is activity. You don't have to worry about that. And then sets the content view of the XML that I've just showed you. Right, so let's start with the XML and get going. Now, first thing I want to do is the background. I'll delete that text view, and I will place a linear layout, a vertical one, in here, into this relative view, and that is now taking up that space. I've left the relative view at the top because that seems to be something Google recommend. I want to change that to fill parent though. I don't know why it's match parent. That makes it fill the whole thing there. And now linear layout is on fill parent too, and there's a gap, but that is because there is some sort of padding here. Now they're referencing a file like before, so if you go down to this file here in values, dimens, you can see the one for activity horizontal margin is there, so it's 16. So I could change that to 8 to half it, but now I'll leave it anyway. So we set the top relative layout background, not the other one, because that one's got padding on it. So I will literally just go away and find my graphics for this, which you should make sure that you are supplied with the graphics, and you don't have to do them yourself, because you know you shouldn't have to be masters of Photoshop. Alright, so this one is that one, intro BG1. Now what I want to do is copy this into my project file. Do I have that anywhere? Anyway, that is in E or code, and then in here you go to app, source, main, res, and I've made, oh no I haven't, I've just put them in XHDPI because then the OS will choose, because there's no other ones to choose from. When it goes looking for the background, it'll only get them from one source, and then if the way we're going to make it, the OS, the phone itself, will do all of the scaling for us, so we don't have to have multiple versions. It could be considered lazy, but to me, I think it's almost impossible to try and maintain all of these different versions, especially when you're changing them and tweaking them. You make one tweak somewhere and you've got to make it everywhere. So if you can, do this. I mean, back in the G2ME days, we definitely had different sets because there was no easy way to stretch images without the whole device slowing down. But in Android, it's so powerful now; it can stretch that image to the backdrop without any, without any fear. Right. Let's get going. Vertical layout. The first thing we want is that little arrow there pointing to the left. That is called arrow back. I'll copy it from my source. Right in here. Now, I'm going to use another linear layout for that. So I'll drag that in. I'm using the horizontal one, but considering there's only one item, it doesn't actually matter. And I'm going to change the name of these things just so we don't get bogged down with what the hell's going on. So I'm going to call this top bar, because presumably later there'll be more than just an arrow, otherwise I'd just call it the white arrow bar, Right, I'll put an image button in there to represent this, and you'll see it appear there, but it doesn't have an image. Now I'll go down to here to source, and I want to find that image that I just used, which is called arrow back. Press OK, and you can see it's appeared there in the top left. You can make this view bigger by just giving myself a bit more space. Alright, so that looks pretty good actually. Apart from that, you'll notice there's a sort of background on the image button. What you want to do there is set the background to transparent. Hash 00000000. It's 4 sets of 2 zeros. Red, green, blue, alpha, or alpha, red, green, blue. Either way, by putting 00 for the alpha, that makes it transparent. Okay. Now I'm going to put in 2 ordinary standard text edit texts for this. I'm going to make a new layout. I'm going to make a vertical one this time because I want to try and put the two text fields in it because they're sort of related. And I'm going to call this one text field holder. Now you see at the bottom here, it's jammed in at the bottom. We don't want that, even though it's on fill parent. That's because the other one is also on fill parent, and it's the first one there, so it's got default weight, which allows it to take up more. So if we just put the 1 on there for weight, so you've got fill parent, and weight 1, and then fill parent, and weight 1. They will take up 50% each. As you can see now, that works. And now actually we don't really want them to do that, do we? We want them to take up as much as they actually need. So let's go to height here on the top bar and set that to wrap content. Now that'll go down to as small as it can. That's actually strange. I didn't expect that image to shrink. But given that this is going to be a set thing in our app anyway, I actually want a set height. So let's just give it 50 dp. dp being density independent pixels, meaning if I use a massive tablet the size of a cinema screen or a little tiny watch, the size of a postage stamp, the 50 dp will try and scale accordingly. And that does seem to work nowadays, which is, very good news. And I'll try 80. Yeah, that looks okay. Now we want that button to be in the middle really, so we can go gravity. I always get these ones confused, but I think if I set vertical gravity. There you go. It's sitting in the middle of its own box. Right. Now I'm going to put a couple of text fields in here. Edit text, I'm sorry. And I'm going to use a plain text one for the username. No, I'm not. I'm going to use an email one. And these are simply predefined setups. It doesn't really do anything apart from changes that input type there. You can choose. And they, set the constraints that you might want. For a password, for example, you want it to appear in stars. You don't want people to see it, so you can then drop in the password one, and that'll automatically work. Rename these to something sensible. These days I usually put ET, so I remember what type it is. Edit text, and then username. And then, same for this one, edit text, password. So you can spell password. Now, they look a bit weird, don't they? But they kind of do these days, especially in these editors. So if you go to width fill parent, I'll take care of it stretching right across there. I'll do that for both. Oops. No, I didn't do that. Right, so now we have them. Let's have a hint. Put the hint in. So, let's just type exactly what they've got there. Username / email address. Okay, that looks pretty good. Password. And you know what? No, I'm going to put the checkbox in now, and I'm going to use another layout. You know, it probably isn't that advisable to use too many layouts, especially nested upon nested upon nested, but this is not complicated. Obviously it takes a bit of a hit on the CPU to decode really complex layouts, but this is certainly not one of them. Now we can see it's taken over, it's jumped to the top because of something to do with the fill parent and the weight. When the other one became wrap content, it lost its weight. So for now, we'll set this one to height to wrap content 2. Oh, height, not width. And that should allow the other one to show again. Ah, I see, the new one is fill parent, right? Let's put the checkbox in first, because this one here is the one that's taking over the screen. If I change that to wrap content, now we can see our other one, the top two here. Well, let's just put a checkbox in to stop this being confusing. So you put that into there. I'm going to rename this one checkbox holder. I'm going to rename the checkbox to CB Remember Me. And now I'm going to whack another one in for the login button. Oh wait, before that I'll make the checkbox text white by simply going to text color #FF. Red, green, blue, all set to white. Now another layout. Like I say, you could actually do this all in one layout, but I've got used to having them nicely. Oops, that one's inside that one, so I can actually drag it out to there. Or can I? Well, I can drag it up there somewhere, and then drag it back down. Close these up. Is that it? No. No, I hate stuff like this. Fiddly little areas and windows you got to grab. Let me get that outside, or I'll delete that for now. Well, the other thing you can do if you're having trouble with this is you can just go into the code here, just take that last one, copy it, paste it, and go back to your design, and you've got a second one here already, so you can just delete the ET, add an image button still, because we actually have a graphic for the login button. Drop that in, and it's conflicting because it's got the same name. We'll change that and we'll call that login button holder. And we'll call the image button IB login. We'll change that one to width, fill parent. Height should be wrap content. Right, something strange is happening. It's because I left the weights in here. Shouldn't do that unless you're using fill parent, both of them. I don't think it should have a weight. And actually, Android Studio should probably warn you or delete that, in fact, unless of course it is fully relevant. But as you can see, as I take away that weight, things start to behave as we would expect instead of taking over the whole screen. So always look for the weight. And I must say, this whole system did have me confused at the beginning. It just takes a little bit of time to get used to. A login button isn't showing. I haven't set the image, have I? Okay, so let's go away and get my image for the login button, which I'm actually grabbing them from a window here on the right monitor. You can't see. Put that in there, and then it's called B button login. So let's set the image on that, and that should make it grow a little bit there on the left and fit. There you see, perfect. And the background is not meant to be there, so we need to get rid of that. So let's do our trick from before. Hash. You can put anything here actually for red, green, blue. I could put FF, FF, FF. That makes it white. But as long as I put the last two as 2 zeros, then the alpha becomes 0. Oh, maybe I'm wrong. Okay. It's the first two, not the last two. So I was right, but I always get the order mixed up. That's alpha, red, green, blue. Right, and we can see the login button doesn't quite work, does it? Now, this is going to be a bit annoying, actually, because what we want it to do is fill the whole area, but then the word in the middle is probably going to become a bit stretched. Let's have a look. We'll fit XY, we'll make it fit. There you see, but unfortunately, now it's become stretched and quite ugly. Fit start, we'll make over there, you know, fit center. In fact, I don't think there is a way to do this without that stretching. Clearly not. Because center crop there, that's almost there, but of course now we've lost the top and bottom. Now I'm going to briefly mess with this, but I believe that the best way to do this is to simply remove the word login and do it with a real label. Let's see what happens if I just try something. I'll just try a few heights here. 60 dp. Trying to see if there's a one that looks okay, avoids me having to go into Photoshop. No, I don't think so. Well, that looks pretty good actually. Just by using an explicit height. Now you can see it's too stretched. 70 looks a little bit stretched. Of course, all of this might have to be changed later at some point if you realise that your approach is wrong, but you know, very rarely do you have to go back. Well, let's go with 64 for now. Does that look stretched or does that look okay? A little tiny bit stretched. Right, I'll change that to 62. Change the text on the checkbox to remember me. And now these backgrounds of these text boxes are actually in the picture there, they're like white, but I don't know how much they want this. I mean, the OS decides how the text fields look, and they might look just fine on various things, so for now I'm going to leave that. And actually I think kind of we're done. I mean, they want this keyboard here, but you can't do that with XML, you have to do that with code. Now I'm going to put in the forgot your password and sign up thing now. And then I'm going to try and make it look a little bit better. So for this one I'm going to use a horizontal layout, and the reason for that being that there's two things in there. Why does it do that? And I want them to sit next to each other. It's not liking that, unless I can drag it in here. Which I can. You can drag it into that window. Still learning Android Studio myself. And I must say it's not, I wouldn't say it's any better than Eclipse ultimately, but if you're using it now, you might as well stick with it. We'll call this Forgot Password Holder. Now the reason I say it's no better than Eclipse, even though I'm not a big fan of Eclipse, is because I've had it wreck projects for me entirely. I've had it waste entire days in Android Studio with nonsensical Gradle errors for no reason. Even making a new project, rebooting, and it hasn't fixed it. And for that reason, I've started to really detest the moments when it does that to you. Okay, let's add the labels for Forgot Your Password and Sign Up Now. We will use a medium. No, we'll use a plain text view. Drop one of them into there. And it hasn't appeared in there, so you make sure you can drop it in like that. And that's somehow made a duplicate. That's a new one on me. Is that a feature? Well, first of all, we'll set the text color of this to white so we know what we're working with. Hash FF. And I don't know, in one of my other videos it did mention that you could choose this color by using Photoshop. If I go and take the eyedropper and place it anywhere like that and open that color, then I can copy and paste that. So for white I can go up there, that's FF, black 00, and anywhere in between I can use that, which is a great trick. Very forward thinking of them to use that, I would say. Change this ID to ID. Let's bring this back. ID forgot my password. Oh no, label. I'll call it lab forgot password. And I'll copy that. Oh no, let's just get it right first. Forgot your password. And you can't do an underline in XML as far as I'm aware. I think I just covered that in one of my other videos. Very easy in code though, so we'll leave that for now. You can even use HTML in code, and you do something like HTML.from HTML, put your HTML in there, and all the little tricks will work. I haven't tried anything blinking or marquees. That would be interesting, wouldn't it? Right. Forgot your password. Did I put a question mark on there? Yes, I did. Now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to give this one the fill parent width and the fill parent width and margin 1. So there is actually legal situations where you would want to do that, because I want these to take up 50% of the width each. So I'll give them a fill parent there and then a weight 1, because they will both have the same weight, they will both take up the same space. I could call that weight 2, I think, both 2. They would still be the same, therefore they would still take up the same space. So copy and pasted that one. Now I've got 2, and they're taking up the same space. Second one I will call, well, I'll give it sign up now, and I'll call it. I'm calling them labels because I'm stuck in the past. I forgot TV, so I'll call it TV sign up. Actually, let's keep that all the second bit lowercase so I don't forget. Oh no, that's my convention is to use uppercase like that. I'll change this one from lab to TV because TV is the correct terminology. Now sign up needs to be on the right side instead of near the middle there, so we go to gravity, we just say right, and as I said before, we'll underline them later. We kind of want that orange actually to be the colour, not white, so I'm going to drag an image from the right hand monitor here into Photoshop and steal the colour of the orange that they have designed, like that. And I'm going to copy that back into, let me just minimise Photoshop, back into here as the colour for this. So hash, paste, and it's got that little orange colour. And we can't do the keyboard in code, so we're very close to being done. Make sure we save this. Somehow it doesn't really look right, does it? But what I'm going to do is run it on my device and see what it looks like. You should do that at this point really before you start fussing too much, because often it'll look perfect. I'm going to pause this and I'll try and take a screenshot to show you on here. Okay, so it's running on my device now, which is an HTC Butterfly, the first one. Excellent device, by the way. I love it. Scratch proof and everything. You go up to the Tools, Android, and Android Device Monitor. And click that. I don't know if I've already clicked it. Yes, I have. So I've already clicked it, so it's appeared down here. Then you go to Devices, and it'll claim there's no devices. What? Unfortunately, this happens to me quite often with Android. Things not working. I'm going to pause it. Well, I'll tell you what I'm going to do, just in case you're going through the same issue. I'm going to go through Settings on my device itself right now, and I'm going to go down to Developer Options. I'm going to untick USB debugging. Should hear Windows go doo-doo. Maybe not. Now I'm going to retick it. That often, oh, I see it says stuff like that now and again. That will often kick ADB back into life. I don't want to waste too long on this nonsense. Like I say, this sort of stuff really hampers development at times, but this doesn't always happen. Normally I just plug it in and it works. It could well be because I have another version of... Ah, wait a sec. Am I talking crap? Here's the device one. It has popped up and it has recognised my device, right? So here it is plugged in, the Butterfly. I can click that little camera there and it will now refresh. It'll screen grab what is on my real device. So let's have a look at that alongside what we want. Okay, it's a bit annoying, isn't it? We'll copy that with that button there and we'll paste it into Photoshop so we can have a better look at it. Control N makes a new Photoshop, and you see it's a full HD screen. Paste that. Oh, we've got the debug sentence. So you go back to that, find your app, click refresh. Copy back to Photoshop if I can find it. Paste. Okay, so that is what I have right now, and what I'm trying to achieve is over here somewhere. This one. Now, this is a good way to compare them. I'll turn off the slices, view, untick extras. Right, let's make sure they're about the same size to give them a fair chance. Zoom that one out a bit. Alright, let's just say that they're roughly the same. That design has come from an iPhone, by the way, obviously. Is that an iPhone? Yeah, it's an iPhone. So things are a bit different. Now the first thing we notice is that we have this action bar at the top, which we don't want. So I'm going to get rid of that in code. Now we're straying already into tutorial 2. I want to set that main activity that we've just made, no sorry, the login activity as the first one. So we'll go down to our manifest here. At the moment I have another one as the first one, because I was working on something else, but we'll change my main activity to login activity so that when I run the app it'll automatically go to our first activity, login activity. And now I'm going to put a little print message here so we know what's happened. And the way I do it is I do an underscore, open like that, and I'll type login activity born. You'll see that won't compile because it's not a real method. But I make my own method, and it's questionable, but it has worked for me for over 10 years, this lovely technique. Take this from here, I'll explain this in a second. This is the one I've already prepared earlier. And I usually put it right at the bottom so you can forget all about it. And the method is literally called underscore. Let's open this out because, there you go. And as I've written there, it's a wrapper, so we don't have to type this every time, because typing log d, whatever you want your tag to be, blah blah blah, every time is a nightmare. Even system.out.println is a nightmare in the Java days. So I started to do this thing where I just do an underscore and then type, and it's the quickest possible way to get some output to the screen without having to go, oh god, what do I have to type again, and fiddling around. So that is just a wrapper. Now I use the word my app in there just as my tag, because I want only the output. I want, when I've got this little ADB script I run where I want only my own output, not all the crap from the device, because I'm sure you've noticed that it's impossible basically to work on. But I'll show you right now if you haven't noticed. This is what happens on my device. This is a script I've written, which I'll explain in a second. It starts ADB, but it just does this all day long. You know, there's no way I could use that for debugging, and you can see what's crazy. I can see loads of stuff about the LiveWire, which is to do with the Android watch I got years ago. The device is going crazy. You know, we're lucky that they're so fast, because if this was the J2ME days, well, of course that was it catching up. So I was being a bit misleading there. That was it catching up. And you can see it's trying to get Google for something, and there's some Google code here, obfuscation. Look, that's what it does. The methods are all obfuscated. That's deep in the system. And it's because I have no Wi-Fi on that it's failing. But yeah, so, okay, I was being a bit melodramatic there. That is what it does, which can go up and down. If I use my phone now, see, that was me pressing the home key. If I turn on the Wi-Fi, there's something to do with graph.facebook.com. There's no way you can use this. I mean, I'm not really a traditional debugging kind of bloke, actually. I like to use the command line window. So, this script, my coffee's boiling, so I'll better pause this in a second. This script that I do is simply just ADB logcat. That shows you everything. All this crap here is purely because my paths are not set up right, because I've upgraded the SDK so often and I've run out of space on C and stuff. Don't install your SDKs on C, really, because it'll ruin your life when it runs out. And that's my phone now, catching up on all of the Wi-Fi stuff. So that is literally just a path to ADB. If I copy that in here, for example, it's really just a platform tools directory, just some way I can get to it, because if I type ADB on its own, it will not get recognized because of my path issues. Right, so logcat like that shows you everything, but my special crazy app, logcat, which I call my app, and just in case you don't know, anything you put in a text file that'll work in a command prompt, like you can also shift right click, open command window here to get one open. And if I type ADB, it's not recognized. But so anything you can type in here that works, like even if I type dir or whatever, if you save that as a .bat, not a .text but a .bat, and then run it, it'll be an executable Windows script. Probably teaching my grandmother to suck eggs there, but you know, might as well. A few bits of info. Right, so if you edit mine, you'll see the same nonsense just to get the path. You'll see ADB logcat, identical. But then you'll see this, my app :D star S uppercase S CMD. Now what happens there is when I run that, I only see what's from my app. So we'll run it now. Well, first of all I want to change, in here you can see I'm printing the name of the class. That is literally just so I can see what class has produced what. So we'll change that to the one we're in, login activity. And we've got login activity born there. So if I run this now on my real device, of course it's now killed my ADB. You should be able to have multiple ADBs going, yeah. When it runs, you should simply see nothing more than login activity born. and that's because we're only seeing my output, and the only thing we've output is activity born. But let's delete that one because it's got two declarations for activity. So it'll run now. You'll see activity born. I'll pause it, get a fresh coffee, and then we'll have a quick look at the layout, and then we'll move on to launching it. To linking it all up with code, which I'm glad to finally get to, because I kept promising it, but it never happened. Right, here we go. We don't have a mess of nightmares. This is our only output, and it says login activity born. We can see that it comes from the login activity, and we can see it comes from my app. So I highly recommend that approach to the old school way of development. If you want to see if something worked, you want to see something happen, this is beautiful. Of course, I must admit the debugger does work in Android Studio, and I have been using it infinitely more than I have used the one in Eclipse, but I find I've trained myself so well to live without a debugger, because they're impossible, they're rare, if not impossible in the mobile world, or were until Android and iOS. I've been coding J2ME for 12 years before this. So I trained myself off debuggers completely. But it does have a good debugger. Please do use it if you know how to use it. But also try this lovely approach here where you can use ADB Logcat, and in a sort of old school fashion it's a visual debugger of sorts, because you can put any message you want there. Okay, I've been blethering for a while, so I'm going to pause that, get my coffee, and then we'll have a final look at the layout. Okay, I'm back. So, look at Photoshop, and let's copy the keyboard from the right one, right, just to give us the correct visual illusion. Is this going to work? Can I drag it? Oh, it'll do that, won't it? Can I copy it and paste it? Being a Photoshop wizard does definitely help. Not that I am. Alright, so this is to make it look. And you can immediately see I've picked the wrong one. My head is not screwed on today. Although I did wake up in the middle of the night. That's probably why. Right, here we go. It's 3 AM now, and this is me up for the day. Let me go back to... I'm working on the right screen here, just trying to find the right slice. One of my least favourite things about Windows is how you have to arrange around and keep and navigate your files. I preferred the Amiga days, but it's a different story. Here we go. Turn off the slices. View. Extra. Okay. Zoom that out a little bit, maybe. Oop. That's close enough. Right, as I said before, the first thing we notice is that stupid action bar at the top, which I detest. So I'm going to go back to my main activity here, and I just found this answer on Stack Overflow. Every time I need it, I look on Stack Overflow, and I don't think this is the correct way to do it either, but for now, let's do this. And you don't have to learn that. Just Google how to hide the action bar and find the one that you think is correct. But request window feature, no title, turns off the title. Get window, set the flag, full screen, hides the action bar, right? So, and I see a little flicker of it, so this is probably not the correct solution. But for now, it doesn't really matter, does it? Now I'm going to run this on my device, which you can't see obviously until I screen grab, and then I'm going to screen grab it and recompare it in Photoshop. Okay, so this is it without the action bar. Maybe they do want that little title in. By the looks of it, they do, because it is on the Android one. So in fact, I'll go back to the code and I'll just see if getting rid of that keeps the title but not the action bar. Okay, it seems I was a bit out of date with hiding the action bar. It's a lot neater now. You can do this: get window feature, a request feature, whatever, get action bar dot hide, and that will hide the action bar perfectly nicely, but also still show the top. I'm going to paste it in now on the left there, as you can see. So these are looking quite similar. I don't know, are they though? Like, could I get them the sizes up like that? Right. So first of all, I'd say that white arrow is probably too little and too low. So what I'm going to do there is remove the padding from the top of the first relative layout that Android Studio created for us up here. See, remember at the beginning I said that there was padding on here. You can see top. I'm just going to change that to none, or just delete that and press enter to bring it up higher. And does it look high enough yet compared to the iOS one? Yeah, I think it probably does actually. So this is the iterative process I go through now, running and screen grabbing and comparing until it looks good enough. Just briefly, I've accidentally found this too, which is amazing. It seems to grab the layout from the running device itself and give you a breakdown of all of the components and information about them. That's really going to be excellent. I don't know why the pointer's going like that and it's acting weird, but that's going to be excellent for, you know, debugging GUIs at some point if you're having trouble. So remember that I clicked on them little dump view hierarchy. I clicked on accidentally. Okay, we're back in here. Now, I think the white arrow looks a little bit small. So, and the username and password, they do look awkward not being white. It makes it feel far unlike the design. So, I'm going to see if I can make the arrow a little bit bigger, and I'm going to see if I can put a background in them without it being weird. Now, how do you make that button a little bit bigger? Well, the problem is if the image isn't big enough, that's you done really. You can't stretch it up too much, otherwise it'll look quite horrible. So you can then go away and request a larger button, or you can just use it and see if the client notices really. You can change with the scale type here. If I put center crop, you know, there are ways I can get this to be a bit bigger. If I'll change the height to fill parent. See how it grows there? And obviously you don't want it to be blocky, but you know, sometimes you can get away with it. Center fit XY would stretch it like that, for example. So you could try a little trick which is like 100 dp width and 100 dp high. And then of course that's crazy, doesn't look good. 50 dp. 50 dp. Okay, a little bit better. Obviously 50 wide is, it shouldn't be that wide, I don't think. Let's change that to 30. Let's move this along so we can see the iOS one at the same time. And let's zoom out a bit on. Well, let's move that over there first. Let me bring back. Get rid of this for now. Right. So now the button's definitely bigger. I don't think it looks too bad either. I still think it's actually too big now. It's kind of hard to tell really because of the different screen sizes and stuff. But yeah, I think that's too big. So I'm going to take 10 off it. I'll make that 20. I'm going to take 10 off that and make that 40. And there we might have something that looks as good, if not better. Right, I'll run it, screen grab it and check it again. And we'll keep doing that until it's done. Hopefully we'll still be under the 1 hour mark before we move on to tutorial 2. Although my statistics tell me that only about 10% of people or less get this far anyway. So if you're still here, thanks for watching. I do appreciate the support. And the reason I'm giving away more tutorials like this is because I saw such a huge boost in my Eclipse one and my Android one. The Android Studio one is now doing better than the Eclipse one, so I thought stick to Android Studio. Alright, here we are back in Photoshop, about to paste the latest grab. Ha! It looks fine, but it's too big, ironically. So we'll go back, and this is not normally as tedious because I don't normally have to talk and things like that, you know. I'll take that down another 10, and I'll take that one down another 10. And I can also, in real life, I can hold up my screen to the screen and check it and things like that. What does that look like? Now it looks a little bit odd actually, doesn't it? It looks a bit too compressed width-wise. So we'll change that to 15. Yeah, I think that'll be good. Right, I'm back in Photoshop, pasting in, and I think we might have a winner. That looks good. If the client decides it's not correct, we can change it. I've also noted that actually the padding on the edge is larger on theirs. You see the width padding? We've got 16, but theirs looks like 32 on either side. Well, that's easily fixed by going back up to our relative layout and just delete this that they've put in. Huh? Oh, sorry, click on that one. Change that to 32 dp. 32 dp, and you can see how it all updates pretty nicely. And do the same again. Back in Photoshop, paste it in. Okay, that looks good. Although the login button now looks a bit too stretched height-wise, but we're going to worry about that in a minute once we've done these text fields, text edits. Now I do wonder about this backdrop, semi-transparent backdrop. It looks like white with semi-transparency, and I've learned honestly not to mess with text fields too much because they're just going to look different on different devices. I don't know, I'm tempted not to do anything with them because they are standard iOS things possibly. I'm tempted to leave that and say to them, these are standards, you know. I'll change the colour that the text comes up because I just tried it on mine and it was black, so F, 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 F. That just means when the text you're typing will come up white. I mean, if I was to change the background, and I've tried this in the past many times, but I don't know what would happen. Let's have a look. We'll just make it pure white. See? Height goes weird. Undo that. That's definitely the height just changes. And then you're getting into, you know, manually changing the height, and then the flashing cursors are the wrong colours and stuff. No, I'm going to make the decision right now to leave that for now and come back to it later if need be. There'll be a way to do what they want probably, but you could do it all and they might go, oh no, we didn't really want that, it was just how that happened on the iOS screenshot. So don't stress yourself too much. Now I've just fixed this spelling on Remember Me, and again the appearance of the checkbox on Remember Me could also be an issue that they have. I don't know how to change the colour of the little checkbox from code, really. Background, what does that do? See, that does that, you don't want that. So it gets another one of those platform dependency issues, you know. These people, artists can style things all they like, but if it's just a pipe dream sometimes. Right, let's make this one a little bit less high, 52. Starting to look good. It might be a bad idea to be doing this explicitly now, but we'll copy 52 into the clipboard and we'll try fill parent again with a couple of different scale types because we now have a little bit more space, but the button actually always needs to line up with the end, so I think what we had might be fine. And if it's not fine, like I said before, we can just paint over the text in Photoshop and put real text in there that won't stretch. But actually, I think 54 should do it. And I'm noticing right away there should be a bigger gap between the stuff below the button. This stuff should be padded a bit further, so we can go to forgot your password holder padding and just go to the top and add 10 dp. That knocks it down quite nicely. In fact, they all need that, don't they? The Remember Me checkbox should have padding at the top too. We'll use 10 dp for consistency. And after it too, so we'll use that on the login button. Padding, 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 top. 10 dp. Yep. And I'm wondering if 10 is actually enough. I don't think it is it? It should be 20 really. Be good if you could have, well, you can have a constant. That's exactly why they were doing that. Okay, so if you wanted to not have this 10, you have to change it in every one. You could put that in the dimensions file, and it would reference that every time rather than you having to go through it and type 10. I'm not going to worry about that for now. Right. I'll give the top of this one 20 dp padding. Maybe that's too much. I'll give checkbox 20, and I'll give that one 20. I'll give that one 20. Now, surely we're close. Okay, we're back in Photoshop and I'm about to paste it. Oh, did that do anything? Maybe I didn't copy it properly. Ah. Let me have a look. I think Photoshop's decided it's had enough of the clipboard. I'm going to delete a few layers here. I'll just pause this. Okay, now we're cooking with gas. The top arrow looks pretty close. The text fields look a bit too knocked down now. So I'm just going to change that from 20 back to 10. In fact, do they need anything at all? Really? To knock them down? They were up 10. I think they'd still be low. But I'm going to give them 5 anyway. I'm going to run it in the background while we look at the rest. But I think, if they were lined up, remember me looks okay. Login looks okay. Forgot your password, sign up now. Obviously the 3 issues being the text fields look different, the checkbox looks different. Forgot your password and sign up now have no underline, and you can't pop up the keyboard without code, but on the whole, I'd say we're done. Let me check what it looks like now. After the reduced padding here, that should jump up quite a bit and hopefully look about level as the iOS one. Paste that now. Yes, I would say. Sometimes I take a window like this and I just line up. So let's say the top of the password one is there, the bottom of that one there. They're roughly right. Roughly right. And as I say, I might have to go back later and put some sort of backdrop in. But I would say for now, that's complete. And now for the next tutorial, which will be in a separate video, of course, I will link up all of the cool stuff here, and I'll even get to a call to the API to log in, and that'll be really meaty stuff that I keep failing to get to because I'm doing all of these UI tutorials. But check out the next tutorial for that. Thanks very much for watching. As always, it's been a pleasure.